This is The Download from Sounds Profitable, your daily source for the essential news in the business of podcasting. I'm Gavin Gaddis. Here's what you need to know for today, Thursday, March 5th. First up, the real shift in spoken word. A chart from the latest Edison Research Share of Ear study shows podcasting's share of daily spoken word audio consumption passed AM/FM radio for the first time in 2025. That's 40% for podcasting versus 39% for radio. Tom Webster notes wide press coverage labeling the statistic as evidence that spoken word podcasting has passed AM/FM radio for the first time. But one substantial caveat goes unaddressed. Podcasting is not audio only, and it hasn't been for years. Share of Ear measures the listening universe, including podcasts listened to on video-forward apps, but does not measure podcasts that are actively watched. If the narrative becomes podcasting finally caught up to talk radio, it implies podcasting's upper ceiling is the size of radio. Measuring podcasting by those standards runs the risk of shrinking a massive medium to fit a very specific ruler. Next up, Frequency and Flightpath join forces to streamline podcast monetization. A new partnership integrates Flightpath's predictive planning and inventory intelligence into Frequency's premium publisher network marketplace. The goal of this integration is to move past reactive selling and fragmented tools, adopting an operating model that can optimize demand opportunities over multiple networks at once. Flightpath CRO Lori Ballou says the Frequency partnership gives publishers the clarity and control needed to monetize faster and with greater predictability. Next up, Radiodays North America unveils 2026 speakers lineup. This year's Radiodays North America is set for May 5th and 6th in downtown Toronto, alongside the Departure Festival and Conference. The main stage and keynote events will be hosted at the St. Lawrence Centre for the Arts and the Fairmont Royal York Hotel. Speakers will include CRTC Vice President Broadcasting Scott Shortliffe, NYC Studios Radiolab producer Simon Adler, and our very own Tom Webster. In addition to the 2 days of scheduled talks, Radiodays North America is planning Podcast Creators Day on May 7th, featuring sessions on creator-focused topics like audience growth, monetization, and brand partnerships. Next up, Audible unveils nonfiction podcast slate incorporating Wondery productions. Writer Todd Spangler notes this is the first major podcast slate announcement from Amazon since the reorganization of Wondery, which put narrative-driven podcast content under the Audible banner. Now that slate includes, as Audible head of content for North America Marshall Louis puts it, a Justice League of journalists and storytellers to the platform, with new seasons of Dr. Death, Over My Dead Body, and a new investigative series, OnlyFantasy. In addition to new content, former Wondery narrative-driven series like Hysterical and Dying for Sex are making the jump to Audible. As for the rest of the news, Podscribe has announced a new conversational chatbot to convert podcast data into insights, as well as YouTube smart modeling to predict YouTube performance. That's set to debut April 1st. Headliner has released social scheduling, allowing users to fully build clips, schedule them to major platforms, that'd be YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, etc., and track analytics from the Headliner dashboard. In anticipation of International Women's Day, Triton Digital has a new interview with CRO Sharon Taylor. Acast is working on growing their Australian operations, promoting Kate Digby to the newly created role of Sales Director for Australia and New Zealand, as well as appointing Katie Stenson to Group Business Director. DAX U.S. President Brian Conlon joins the latest episode of the Podcast Advertising Playbook, including a discussion on how programmatic is reshaping podcast advertising. The Podglomerate has a new blog on building search engine optimization into podcasts. That'll do it for today's episode. As a reminder, you can find links to every single thing I just talked about by clicking the one link in your show notes, which will take you to today's episode post on soundsprofitable.com, where you can also subscribe to get the newsletter version, so all those links are sent directly to you every day. The Download is written and produced by myself, Brian Barletta, and Tom Webster. For Sounds Profitable, I'm Gavin Gaddis, and I'll see you tomorrow morning for the Download Recap.